Christmas brings up a lot of grief over our childhood, what we missed, what we wanted, what we thought our adult lives were going to be like, and they weren't or aren't. This is not negative. This is part of life. And if you're still standing there and able to cry, you have also made it, meaning you have times in your life that you know are enjoyable and you have been successful, okay? But it's painful because there's so much intensity expressed and it's all balled together. And so grief is really important. Crying, absolutely. Being quiet, yes.
Hey guys, it's Nancy and welcome to the She Laughs podcast. Sit down with me while I chat and get personal with some insanely cool women as they share their smarts and their hearts. God gave us each unique gifts and we got to use them. Inside each one of us is a cool girl. So buckle up. Let's get vulnerable. Let's get real and let's laugh.
Hi, guys. Welcome back to the She Laughs podcast. And I'm really excited about today. We are doing kind of a special holiday edition with Teresa Moore, who is one of our very favorites. And today's conversation feels especially important in this season because so many of us head into the holidays carrying expectations, some spoken, many unspoken. And underneath all of it is a very human longing to feel seen, heard, and loved just for who we are. We decorate, we plan, we gather, we give gifts, we show up, but often we leave feeling more drained than nourished. And I think part of that is because we confuse performance with presence and perfection with connection. So today we're going to be talking with Teresa Moore. And if you have been under a rock and don't yet know who Teresa is, she's an amazing therapist. And a lot of her work centers on presence, safety, and the deeper meaning of love, especially during the holidays. So we're going to talk about expectations, faith, consumerism, sacrifice, and how to come home to ourselves and to God in a season that was never meant to exhaust us. So this is a conversation about slowing down, telling the truth about where your heart actually is, and remembering that love was never meant to come with strings attached. Teresa, I'm so glad you're here.
Thank you. I'm glad to be back. And this is an exciting, I used to do workshops on this very topic because it's so big for us. Yeah, it really is. And we don't spend much time thinking about, we do ask ourselves, why am I feeling like this? Which kind of, we spoke to that in another episode, but this is no different. It's the same kind of desire for things to be happy and for us to feel loved and accomplished and all of that. And most of the time, we end up feeling disappointed in some way. So it's an important topic. Yeah.
Yeah, it is, because we're all heading straight into the holidays here and everybody's got their own stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But what do you see people actually longing for underneath all of the activity?
The longing is the same for all of us most of the time in every aspect of our life, which is a basic need. Okay, the basic need is to feel safe, we belong, we're cared about, that we are belonging in a way that is non-judgmental, and that we can be who we are. And that is a tall order for human beings because you'd think it would be pretty straightforward, but nope. No, not straightforward. We have our children, we have dreams and expectations. When we get married, oh my gosh, do we have dreams and expectations? Our parents had dreams and expectations for us that we did not meet, and they were disappointed sometimes. Sometimes they were even more angry about it. So that is the longing. The human longing is for us to be able to sit down with each other and have a conversation without worrying about what you're thinking or what I'm thinking or wishing I weren't there.
Okay.
That's what it
Well,
is.
okay. So when that happens, so we all have a basic need, right?
Mhm.
But we oftentimes have different expectations about what it's going to look like. So can you share what happens when those, and maybe give an example, but can
Yeah.
you share what happens when those expectations go unspoken or unmet? Because sometimes it's hard to speak that expectation, right?
And oftentimes we don't speak. Here's the thing. I am so glad you put it that way. Um, I'll just use my life as an example. When Amy was probably 4 or 5, and Christmas was huge in my home. Mother loved Christmas time. So we had the decorations and we did the gift, midnight service, special, come home and have eggnog and fruitcake. I mean, it was the quintessential picture of Christmas. Um, and when I say quintessential, I mean the whole sentiment. It's not that we had a whole lot, but the tradition was huge. Okay. So here I am married, 4-year-old, working, trying to make Christmas, because it's going to be at my house, perfect. Okay. I have gotten the decorations and I have, everything looks beautiful. Got the menu down, all that stuff. And I'm expecting everybody to have I'm expecting everybody to have a good time, feel comfortable, join in. And I am running to, I don't know, Target, Walgreens, one of them, because I didn't quite have enough for the stockings to be full enough. And are you ready? 11:30 at night, Christmas Eve. Now, it's funny now, was not, but I stood at the bottom of the stairs looking at the stockings and I thought, oh my gosh, what am I doing? I am the only one who is running around trying to make this perfect and I want everybody to be happy. I think they could have cared less, right? This is what I wanted. This is okay. But it was such a drop from my head to my heart in a sad way and a relieving way. I thought, I'm not doing this again. I am not doing this again. And it had some anger with it because I wanted everybody else to be as excited about it as I was. I wanted them to join in. Do you hear all the expectations that I'm speaking as in this? No. And so here we are missing. And I will be honest, I didn't figure out until the last few years. So it's been recent when I sat down and I said, okay, what is this holiday about? It is not meant, what we celebrate is pretty much man-made. The Santa Claus, I think, is Coca-Cola's invention. I'm not sure. The red suit and the height. And we have watched all of our holidays they've just mushroomed into these huge events. We have to decorate because they have the decorations. When I was growing up, the 4th of July was a picnic in the backyard. You didn't have you didn't have firework displays in your backyard. So I got lost. I think a lot of us get lost in the fact that, do I love how Christmas looks decorated? Of course I do. But that began sometime after World War I, maybe two. The Victorian, they celebrated, they had but not like we do today. It's the expectation that I realized came from that position of curiosity. And all of a sudden, the awareness, and I'm going to say wonder, the wonder of what what am I doing? And so when that began, when I realized that I didn't get mad at anybody. I didn't tell them that this is what I expect and then not, come around. So most of what we're talking about today is really for you, because can I sit down, hopefully, if you have someone you are living with in a marriage or in a roommate situation or whatever, or kids, you just kind of have a tradition of sitting down and saying, okay, what are you all expecting? I didn't say wanting. This is not the list for Santa Claus. This is, what are you expecting or wanting this holiday to look like? Just two things even.
It's important what you said for us not only to consider the expectations of the family members or the friends or whomever we're sharing the holiday with, but also our expectations of ourselves, because we can be really tough on ourselves.
Oh, yeah, right.
We're saying, I want it to be perfect. I want everything to match. I want everything, everything hung. Like you said, is overflowing, right? When my grandmother told me when she was little, I can remember her telling me this, she would get an orange in her stocking. And that was like,
but that was huge then.
Huge. That was, she was so excited about it, right?
Yes, you didn't have oranges in the grocery store 24.
Right.
That was a big deal.
Yeah, I think that's important too, to check ourselves and really remember it's not so much about how everything looks, because kids don't really remember that. Or the people coming in your home, to me, they remember the feeling and the interactions, right, that you have with one another. You can't even really always remember what someone gave you.
Oh, no.
Did you?
Oh, yeah, no.
You can sure remember a feeling or a game or a book or a tradition instead of the actual gift, right? And
for sure. I think that one of the biggest mistakes we make in our world today, and I don't know how to, this is not easy. Nothing that we're talking about is easy, particularly if it's new. It's going to be awkward. It is going to fall in a way that some people are not, one of your kids may say, oh, Mom, is that some of that therapy stuff again? Leave me alone, Or what book have you been reading this time? I mean, you have to give everybody a chance to adjust. But if you just keep doing it a little bit at a time, it happens. Okay. But we are in and have been in a phase, at least most of my life, which, like I said, is since the 50s into today, and even I think more so today, of plenty. Things are so available that we get angry when we can't find what our child wants or what our husband or wife. I mean, we are so used to having things that we don't flex very well. And the list is so long and we try to buy so much. It's not just one or two gifts a person. It's like, I don't even know how many. I don't know that we have limits. So that is one of our greatest downfalls, I think, because then we are so focused on the perfect gift to make you happy. And if you're not happy with what I got, oh my gosh, I'm a disappointment. I failed. You don't love me. I'm going to get kicked out of the family. I mean, to some degree, those last two may sound very harsh, but at a feeling level, sometimes that is what it feels like.
Right. Okay. So on that note, you said that you have had workshops centered around, people and what their expectations are around Christmas or Hanukkah or what the holiday is. What surprised you most, or what surprised each other? I think my understanding is it was families that you brought into the workshop, and then they listed their expectations. What surprised the people most when they heard each other's expectations?
Well, that first of all, that they had expectations. Okay. That they realized, because a lot of people say, I don't need a thing. I don't expect anything. Not if you're breathing air. So yes, you do. It's sitting down. That surprised them. Okay, one or two. I didn't give them like three or four. Just do two. And they were, and being able to say them to each other made it possible then for them to, some of them could be met and some of them couldn't. And when they couldn't be met, then it was a conversation. Okay. The ones that surprised them the most, though, were their kids. A lot of them just stay at home. I just want to stay at home. Or I want us to just do something together. I don't, without everybody else.
Ah,
And I'm talking about first, second, and older. What would you really? Yeah, first and second grade. Yeah, thank you. First and second grade and older. So that's like 7 or 8 on up. So that's what I meant by surprise, is that just that probably no longer than, depending on how many people you have in the family, 15 minutes, 30 minutes, nothing major. And there were a couple of guidelines, like you don't get to argue. You don't get to say, well, that's stupid. Why would you want to do that? So it's okay. Thank you for letting me know. So thank you for letting me know is one of the guidelines. You don't get to change. You don't get to criticize. You just, hey, thanks for letting me know. Or how would that look? How would it look for all of us to be together? Now, kids know that one. How would it look? Well, we wouldn't be looking at our phones, would probably come from your fourth, third, or fourth grader. Maybe.
I'm talking to the parents.
Yeah, but that could be a family thing too, is that we are going to spend this afternoon either watching our favorite movie or making popcorn or, taking dinner to a friend, or it doesn't have to be just, but we don't do things anymore like what I just said, take dinner to a friend, unless they're dying. And that's not what I'm talking about. In fact, and we don't model sharing and helping. Our kids.
Why is that? You're so right.
You don't. Well, okay, we're busy. Okay, we're busy. We are too focused on the accomplishment side of life and making sure that our kids are going to be at the top of the heap because they have to make money to have a lifestyle without problems. Here is, and this leads into another one, sacrifice. We do not model sacrifice. We don't even know. We have spent so many years as a culture trying to avoid it, trying to be prepared, trying to not even speak the word sacrifice. It's not supposed to be in our lives. That whole idea of we're supposed to be happy all the time. Our kids are supposed to be happy. We're supposed to be able to do what we want and not do what we don't want. And that's not the world. And that's not the way we thrive best. So if you have never read The Story of the Magi by O. Henry, oh my gosh, I love that story. Love, love, love that story. If you have not experienced this somewhere in your family, you need to start thinking about ways that you can find that, because sacrifice doesn't mean necessarily that I'm not going to get to do what I want, but it does mean that the resources are limited. You only have a limited amount of energy and physical resources to do things with, or money, or time. So it's energy, time, that kind of thing. You have to be realistic, because that's where a lot of the sacrifice comes from, is I have to not do this because I'm going to take time from that and use it over here.
Okay. So incorporating sacrifice, what you're talking about, with also expectations, right?
Yeah.
Somebody in the family's expectation could be, and it can get kind of a lot complicated with a lot of layers when you also have divorced homes.
Oh,
With-
absolutely. Oh, yeah, sure. Yeah.
And even with adult children, sometimes, I heard something the other day that said, back in the day that we had more children than, parents, and now the children have more parents than they have siblings.
Yes.
Sometimes.
That is correct.
With this, right?
Right.
And so adult kids are trying to navigate this and even the younger ones, but the adult ones like, okay, well, we got to go here and here and here and here over the course of 2 days.
Yeah.
Or the younger ones are like, okay, this year you're with me and next year you're with him. And there's just a lot of that. So
Yeah.
what if their expectation is, I don't want Aunt, Sue and her and those cousins coming because the cousins are, not nice or they're this how do you manage that? Or I don't want to go because, stepdad is this or that. Like, how do you navigate those type of expectations? Even if there isn't a blended family, it could be like a random aunt or uncle that with the cousins and the kids just kind of want it to be y'all, right? Like, how do you honor that? But yet it might be, a sacrifice, right? Like, how do you navigate that?
That's a whole nother conversation. That's a whole nother conversation because there's so many layers there. There's so many topics there. But one of the thoughts that stood out for me is parents are really spending their time revolving around their children, divorced or married or separated or, single parents because of death or, so we want them to be happy. And so we are spending way too much time trying to please all of their needs and desires. And this is throughout the whole year. It's not just at Christmas. And that is not the way it was. And I'll just say it didn't used to be that way. It's almost like we were so rigid and so authoritarian that it was harmful. Okay. Because it was my way or the highway as the parent. You didn't spend time allowing your children to develop in a healthy way. So now we've swung too far over to the other side, which is, sure, what do you want? Okay, well, all right, I know, I'm sorry, I know how. Okay, well, we won't go or we won't do. And don't get me wrong, there's a time to listen to your children and what they're saying, and to turn to stay, this is that seen, heard, and valued that we talk about. Because if you spent time really knowing the child that you have and the children that you have, then you see what they're not able to see yet. You are able to see them and their intention. Okay. You hear them with some respect and you're not you're not rebelling against it or adapting. You're just listening. And so there's a process that parents need to be, sometimes parents can't even come to a conclusion. What are we doing this Christmas? Well, this is what we're going to do. And if you're talking about divorced parents, I cannot be responsible for what my divorced spouse is going to do, nor can I manipulate it. If we have a fairly amiable relationship, or amicable relationship, then maybe what we can do is talk about, all right, how would it work if we did mourning and you work out the logistics. And that doesn't mean that any of them are optimal, but that's part of the sacrifice. And what am I sacrificing? I'm sacrificing the way when I married you, I was planning on having an entire life, growing old, having the tradition, Rockwell,
Yeah.
Yeah. And when it doesn't happen that way, then if we're not able to roll with things with some flexibility, at the same time, keeping in mind that they don't really know what they want or what they can tolerate. There's so many times they don't want to be with their cousins, and the next thing you know, they've had a blast.
Well, that's true. That's true.
You know,
But I also think, I heard something interesting. Before I move on, because I have so many questions for you, and I know we have just a short amount of time, but the other night I heard one of my friends was telling me that one of her siblings is married and has children, right? And they're still school-age children. But her siblings are, her husband's siblings are 40 and 50 years old, never married. The parents are gone. And so they have them as almost their children too. Every holiday, there's a sense of obligation to aunt whoever, and
it's a good word, obligation.
yeah, obligation that they feel. And it's like, well, we've got, aunt whoever, right? And uncle so, but yet they kind of would like just to be with their kids. So I think this sense of duty and obligation isn't just geared towards, it's geared towards all different kinds of friends and family that we feel. Yeah. And that I think creates also expectations and tension within the family dynamic.
Absolutely. Right? Absolutely. You talked, that boundaries are really its limitations in being able to say yes and no. That's really what, you hear me define boundary in a different way many times, but it's the same result. It's that I know where my limitations are, and I know what I am able to handle and not able to handle. And it's my responsibility to make decisions that it's not that they don't take you into consideration. It's that in that consideration, I know where my limits are. And if I know where those are, it is unfair for me to say yes to you trying to please you and then not be able to deliver, which is often what happens. I think I'm going to be able to do this one more thing. And the next thing you know, I've exploded because I'm tired and over committed and nobody's helping. And I feel like, you see what I'm saying? So it is very important for people to have some sense of their level of fatigue and commitment and obligation. What in the world is that word? Where did it come from? And what is it for? It's control. Free will. Oh my gosh. I mean, free will is not obligation. When Christmas began with the birth of Jesus, this is the Protestant, okay. But
oh yeah, let's bring it back. That's when we're celebrating here, right?
And so we have a very simple birth, a very simple concept that is absolutely huge because we miss that God sent his son. When we say that, we go, yeah. He sent his son, okay, so that we would know how much he loves us, or as an expression and sacrifice of what love can be. And that he asks nothing of us. Now, there you go. There is no obligation. Just because he did this does not mean he expects you to do anything, because that's what free will is. So it's a receiving of a gift. And oftentimes it is much easier for some people to give, and they really have a hard time receiving. And there are people who have been trained and are afraid to give. So I don't think they're receiving, but they are, think about it. If you need to be needed, then the person that, or people that you are trying to help or trying to overdo for or give to, what do they have to give back? Your whole thing is, I need you to receive what I have to give. So how can they give back? Yeah. Yeah. And the other part of that is oftentimes that even when they did give, of course, all of this is learned in our growing up, our history, okay? But they gave and it just sort of got pushed to the wayside. Or the children gave and there was no thank you or, oh my gosh, how sweet, how thoughtful. The disappointment was greater than the ability to love for the fact that they gave you something, even a picture. Look what I made for you. That's from the heart, in my opinion, with children. Yeah, but sometimes that's not. Sometimes we don't have the heart to be able to do that. And that's where coming to grips sometimes with resentment and so many unmet expectations, so many no's, so many things that fell, the disappointments. It's really hard to want to give to anybody, to even want to be with anybody. And instead of us being honest about that and looking at, okay, this is my life. Is this the way I want to live this life? Is this what God created me for? I don't think so. But the fear can be great. The fear can be great. So where you are in your heart is more important with receiving and giving than anything. Receiving is equally as vulnerable. Because if I receive it, there's that word, now I'm obligated. Because you gave me something, I have to give you something back. Didn't really want to do that, but that's okay. You gave me, you see what I'm saying? These are the unspoken, not easy to identify expectations. And obligation is, listen, I don't want anybody to feel obligated to me. Share with me, ask me questions, get mad at me, we'll work through it, but obligated, not on your life.
Yeah. And I feel like, in these situations, it's always the children, whether it's the adult children or the young children, who it's hardest on, and they don't want to disappoint their parent, or they're sad that they're not with one, they're with the other. And they just feel like they can't win,
They can't.
They can't win.
They can't. No, but see, it's not a win or lose. You're right. And the parents can't win either.
No.
Because they're sad. They're angry and frustrated. And when you're able to see it and even sometimes verbalize that, like, this isn't a win or lose. This isn't ideal. Okay, so I know it's not what you want. You know what? Truthfully, I don't think it's what your dad and I want either, but it is the way it is. So it's an honest, open, non-judgmental conversation that allows them to begin to learn that you can still be in a position to give and receive without it being ideal.
Yeah, it is. But it's heartbreaking to watch, and for these adult kids or young kids. And the other person that I think in the family dynamic who bears the brunt of a lot of the exhaustion or unmet expectations or on themselves or others is the women, the young moms, or the grandmothers. The women, they're trying so hard, especially the young moms, to develop their own traditions, to start their own families, and that can be really hard. So what would you say to someone who feels exhausted, resentful, or sad, but still thinks they're supposed to feel grateful and joyful, right?
Well, the supposed to feel, no, let me say it differently.
When they're supposed to feel that.
I know they believe. And as a matter of fact, if you, and that's what I would say is, No, you are not supposed to anything. Supposed to is somebody else's expectation that I believe I have to please. And many people believe that I'm supposed to please. Okay, so it's a dynamic. It's a family relational dynamic or even cultural. So being aware of knowing that you're exhausted, resentful, what was the other one you said? Sad. Those three things.
Exhausted and resentful, sad.
Odd. Yeah. You are the only one who can pare back some on your exhaustion. Okay. And to look carefully at what you're resenting. Because most of the time it has to do with why can't I be more like them? Why can't my life be easier? Why can't I do everything they're doing? Why am I in this position? It's a comparison, but it's also a sense of what did I do wrong? That kind of thing. So it becomes, sometimes it can become, you feel sorry for yourself. And I get it, because here you are doing twice the work that other people are. Yeah, you got it. So, and I've got to tell you, Nancy, there are a lot of single dads in this position. In our world today, it isn't just single moms that are working hard to try to, make things okay and to feel those feelings. There's a lot of single fathers that are able to be good fathers. They're caring and wanting the best for their kids. And they too get tired, is my point. And they too feel sad. The sadness is usually this is not the way I planned it to be, or it's a continuation of sadness that they've had since they were young. Oftentimes that, because it starts when you're young. And sometimes you are carrying the sadness of one or both of your parents. They were sad, so now you're carrying that sadness, and, that's the generational. So, point being, you need people that are supportive around you, and oftentimes that's not what they have, but that's what you need, one or two. You need to be able to have some time to yourself, even if it's a 20-minute nap somewhere. And I know single parents out there are rolling their eyes. I will say, I am a single parent. I was a single parent. Okay. And I get this. I totally get this. And so, but it's okay to be sad, and it is okay to be angry. Resentful is anger, unresolved anger. Okay. Resentment is just, I'm not going to give it up, and I'm just going to keep beating myself up because I can't make it work. Well, of course, all these things we're talking about are unspoken expectations. Absolutely. And they're also unspoken expectations that you believe you should have been able to do. And so when you can't do everything and be everything and say it all and do it all right, you are mad at yourself and resentful because you weren't able to pull it off. And so that's why I'm saying it begins in that relation. And okay, let's go back to, if we have what we need and we are loved by God and we have faith, and in some of these times we don't, because the world has been it's been so hard that we forget that is not really the measure of love. How hard life has been is not the measure of how much you're loved. It may be how many skills you know, or what life is teaching us, what we learn through that. Maybe it's not life teaching us, but what we have the opportunity to learn about ourselves.
Okay, I have one last question before I kind of switch gears. But when you're talking about expectations and hopes, and then when we might express those, or we give a gift or whatever we do, right?
Mhm.
Why is it so important to and for us to accept that someone else's reaction doesn't define our worth or our effort? That is so hard, right? Because
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. It's very hard. Oh my gosh, it's very hard. Um, but it's really important because now here, this is layered also. You know, people who have closet full of gifts that they can just run in and grab and put your name on it. Okay. That is wanting people to feel included and a thought, but it's unnecessary. It's unnecessary. And that's not genuine other than genuinely wanting you to feel like you're, part of the group. Now, that
Right.
doesn't mean you're going to, but that's what you may be intending. And if you give presents just because it's the time of year to give, I don't think that's genuine either. Because I'm really not thinking about, I'm really missing the message. I'd rather sit down and have a cup of coffee. So gift giving can be a way of checking a box. Okay. And I'd rather you not check the box. Come have a cup of coffee with me, or, text me and say, what do you do? Yeah, that kind of thing. Connection.
sure, meaningful.
Connection. Absolutely. Meaningful connection. That's correct. But there's also the time when I'm so excited about the gift I got you. Okay. I'm so excited. I think it's just perfect. And you open it up and you go, oh, okay, thank you.
I mean, not so much. Yeah.
Pop that balloon. Okay, now, yes, I can still be excited about that because I really thought it would be. Okay, it's not a performance. I'm not trying to, get you. I'm not trying to manipulate. I really thought it would be. And it may be, but you're not ready for it or see it or feel it. And that's got to be okay too. Because the message is what? I need you to be a certain way for me to feel like I've succeeded at gift giving, or my intention is for you to know I care, I put thought into it, and I'm excited. Okay. I cannot explain why you didn't get super excited about it, but I'm not going to put you in a box to have to please me either.
Right.
You could be tired, you could be preoccupied, you could be depressed, you could be thinking about something else. I mean, there's so many other reasons that it could be that your response was not, wow, look at this.
Well, yeah, and I think I think what I'm hearing you say is that if they don't give you the wahoo, super excited about this reaction that you were hoping for, be be happy with yourself, knowing that your intention was so, it was so honorable and it's based on, will they love me more? Will they like me more? Will I be thought of as the best gift giver? If your intention in that gift is really because you love this person and you believe they will love it, then I would think if they're like, whatever, then yeah, you're kind of like, oh, wow, I missed the mark on that. That kind of hurts. But way to recover from that would be to say, okay, wait, but that's something really great I did is
Or something that I really thought would please them. It's not turning it, it's not saying I'm great. It's saying I was genuine in my intention.
that's great that I did, not that I'm great, but that's a motive. Yeah.
Yes,
And
motive. Exactly.
right.
Right.
Um,
The intention was pure.
okay. Two things that I kind of want to close on, although I could talk to you about this forever. Those people listening who are either, I can remember being a little girl and being at Mass with my mom, and there was a lady in front of us who was crying, and it was Christmas, and we were singing all the songs, all the feels, right? It was Christmas feels. I was excited about Santa coming tomorrow. And I remember pulling on her dress and she leaned over and I was like, why is she crying? And mom explained to me that, later that Christmas can be a really sad time for people. And I was shocked because I was a little girl. But for those of us that have lost either a spouse, a child, a parent, a friend, and we're going into the holiday season, what do you tell those people that are listening that may be, missing that or longing Christmases of, the past or
Yes.
whatever?
It is so normal. We all have losses, dreams, family members, moving. And Christmas brings up a lot of grief over our childhood, what we missed, what we wanted, what we thought our adult lives were going to be like, and they weren't or aren't. So it's not to be negative. I don't want it to, this is not negative. This is part of life. And if you're still standing there and able to cry, you have also made it, meaning you have times in your life that you know are enjoyable and you have been successful, okay? But it's painful because there's so much intensity expressed and present in at this time of year. And it's all balled together. And so grief is really important. Crying, absolutely. Being quiet, yes. Taking your time. If people say, what's the matter? You say, it's not anything's the matter. I just miss, or I'm just sad over. And you don't have to go into the whole story, but you just state what it is. But for yourself, to be compassionate with yourself and to know that missing those things that you have wanted, or really, this is not hanging your identity on failures or successes. That who you are is you're always lovable as you are.
That's good. Okay. And then my final question is, like you and I talked about earlier today, is, there's so much consumerism. You said Coca-Cola might have invented Santa, and I have the thoughts of John Travolta now doing that.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. Great commercial. But, how do we bring Jesus into Christmas, into our families, into, our cousins, our brothers, our sisters, our kids, our friends, when we go into Christmas? How do we integrate that for those people listening that are like, yeah, I know, but I mean, I can't go into my cousins and start talking about, if I say, let's pray, how do you bring that in? Because we do get so caught up in, oh my gosh, this is the gift of the year. And, I've got to get, back in the day, it was Tickle Me Elmo, or I've got to get, whatever it is, right? How do we really center ourselves in a practical way going into this holiday and not get caught up in all the shiny and the this and the that, and they got this, or she got a brand new car with a big red bow on it, or, whatever it is. Instagram's full of all the things, right?
All the things.
This do not make you happy. They do not.
Well, they do in the moment,
right?
They are in the event. They are in the event.
It's so fleeting.
Yes. Well, okay. I really believe that the way you center the most and bring Jesus into a situation is you and through you, and how you feel, how you are responding, whether you're running around trying to take care of everybody or not. I have a picture of Jesus walking into Mary and Martha's home.
I was just going to say that. Okay, keep going. Yeah.
And where is Mary? At Jesus' feet. Where is Martha? In the kitchen. Both very important places as a Christian. I think sometimes we work too hard verbally to convince somebody that Jesus is love, God is love, that there is a relationship and all of that. I just think we work too hard at it. And I don't think he ever expected it to be such a performance or hard to attain or a set of rules that we have to check ourselves by. We spend more time worrying about that than we do just breathing and looking at somebody and smiling or touching somebody on the shoulder or arm and tell them to have a good day. You don't have to know them.
Or in the family dynamic, right? What I'm hearing you say is they're seeing, if they're going to see Jesus through you, it's how you react, how you show up love, what your energy is that you're bringing in.
Are you going to be competitive with somebody? Are you going to argue with somebody politically? Are you going to say there's a better way of doing something, trying to help? Yeah, no, that's not peaceful.
Right.
That's not, I will leave you with this, but how many times have you been around Christians who are saying, okay, let's pray, and then they pray forever? Yeah, I don't even have to ask you how you feel. That did it. Or somebody who says, now, don't forget, Jesus loves you. Make sure that you know it just grades against us. And you know what it does to somebody who doesn't even have any experience with that being loving. I'm so glad you got it.
It's funny. You're so right. Yeah.
Yeah. Listen, I can give you lots of examples. Remember where I grew up?
That's so true. Yeah. Right.
And you listen, kids know genuine. Oh my gosh, kids know, and they have no trouble calling you on it either. We don't allow them to do that very often. I hope that we allow them to at least do that in our homes in a way that they learn to do it in a respectful way. But oh my gosh. Yeah. I think this is the heart part again. Where's your heart? Are you mad at yourself because you're angry on Christmas? Well, is that what Jesus would have done? I hate that expression, but is that what he modeled? No.
And I heard something about that the other day. They were saying Jesus was never in a rush, in a hurry. He never was like, come on, guys, hurry up.
Yeah. How many people do we have to feed? Well, if we have a little bit longer, we'll have 5,006.
I mean, he was never like, come on. So I think that really stuck with me, is going, okay.
Yeah, that's so true. Yeah, no, he was peace. This is the time of year. How many times? Peace and joy. Peace and joy. And people are going, what do you mean peace and joy? I don't have either one. And I go to church and I pray and I read the Bible and I am not peaceful and I am not joyful. No, because we have so many expectations and judgments and have-tos that there's layer upon layer upon layer of angst and depression because we can't do it all. And we're angry and we can't express. Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's a thing. Okay.
Well, that's great. Thank you, Teresa.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me. I love doing this.
We love having you. And the people, after hearing your episodes, are just like, wow. So, thank you for being here. And so happy to have you as a recurring guest. It's such an honor. It's been a privilege. So thank you.
You bet.
All right. So much love for you.
Thank you. You too.
And Merry Christmas.
Yes, you too. And have a fun time. I'm sure you're going to do something with your kiddos, I imagine, one way or the other.
Yeah.
So, enjoy, dear.
Okay. Thank you. And guys, thanks for being here today with us on the She Laughs podcast. Merry Christmas. We'll see you next time. Bye. so much for listening to She Laughs. If this episode encouraged you, would you share it with a friend who might need a little courage or a reminder that she's not alone? Every share helps more women find their inner cool girl and kick fear to the curb. You can find links to our guests, watch full episodes on YouTube, and connect with me on social at She Laughs Podcast Official, all in the show notes. And remember, the dream inside of you means something. Take the first step. Be brave. God's got your back. And girl, you've got this.